Saint Lucia, mama, that's the land of my birth.
Bonjour, tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, 10 a.m., which means it's another episode of Rum Shop Talks. Today, I have 3 things that we'll be doing for you guys. So the first one is I wanted to actually share my new t-shirt courtesy of the Coffee Importers. And I want to turn around and let you guys see my t-shirt because this is really cool. Alright, so what this t-shirt is, it is an initiative that the Dana Point Chamber is doing to help the small businesses out there who are, struggling during this shutdown that the country is experiencing. So if you're looking to support a small business out there, hey Key, go to the Dana Point Chamber website. There's a list of all the businesses who are selling this t-shirt. If you buy one, the proceeds go to supporting that particular business. As a small business in Dana Point, I am Dana Point loyal and local, and I invite you guys to support our local businesses because gosh, we're gonna need them to support us after all this is over. If you it's $20 for the t-shirt if you're gonna pick up, $25 if you want it shipped. So you can purchase and support a small business of your choice, staying at home in the safety and comfort of your own home. So that is our first thing that I wanted to do today while I rock my Dana Point local and loyal t-shirt. The second thing we'll be doing is I will be sharing with you guys how to make my favorite treat, hey Patty, which is ice lollies. And third thing we're going to be doing is we will be discussing 3 myths or misconceptions that people have with regard to estate planning. So let's jump into thing number 2. I have my measuring cup here. I like it because it has a spout on it, which will make pouring easy, and you'll see why that matters in a little bit. Yes, support Dana Point at Coffee Importers. I second that. So ice lollies are really simple to make. Very basic ingredients, and you probably have all of it in your cupboard right now. So let's get started. First, we're gonna pour a can of evaporated milk. Hi, it is a great way to start Friday. I'm gonna pour this in here. And you need to put equal amounts of water in. So just grab your can, fill that up with water, and just use that as your measuring implement for your water. So I have mine pre-measured here. You guys know how we do it on Rum Shop Talks. I have everything pre-measured, make it nice and easy for you guys when you come in. So that's that. And if you don't know what evaporated milk looks like, this is it. I use the Carnation evaporated milk here. So our third ingredient is going to be condensed milk. We're gonna use that to sweeten up our hey Paul McKell, welcome. We're gonna use that to sweeten up our ice lollies. So you can also use granulated sugar if you like. And this ingredient, guys, if you are familiar with Caribbean ingredients, recipes, then we don't really use measurements. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So here, I'm going to actually put enough condensed milk to taste, okay? And you're gonna do the same thing as well. I'm gonna introduce you guys to how we island people cook. We don't use measurements, we use a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So here, I'm gonna give that up a little stir here. And then next, while I'm stirring, we're gonna just add, because I love to add my little spices in everything I'm making. So we're gonna put a little bit of cloves. I told you, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Hey Bertil, welcome. So I've got just about a dash of ground cloves here, and about the same amount of the cinnamon. And that stuff you're gonna put to taste. You know, if you don't like it, you don't have to add it. If you like more, you put more. I chose this recipe because it really is adaptable based on your preference. So I've got that all stirred in here. The next thing we're gonna do is we're actually gonna split our batch into two, because I am going to do two different flavors. I'm gonna have a vanilla flavored one and a banana flavored one. For these, we're gonna use extracts to flavor it. And if you only want to make one, you can make one. And what we're also gonna do is, because I want to be able to tell the difference between my flavors, I'm gonna actually color it as well. Okay, so I'm not gonna taste it because I didn't bring a spoon to taste, but I can tell you guys just by eyeballing it, it's good. Yeah, I also cook by eyeballing. So I'm just gonna measure out about half of that out here into this one. We've got two batches now. And then my vanilla, I'm gonna add just a dash of vanilla. If you guys are familiar with extracts, if you use too much, they kind of leave a bitter taste. So really, you want to add just a little bit. If you want measurements, I would say start with 1/8 of a teaspoon of the extract. Taste it, see how you like it, and then adjust from there. Got my banana, put a couple of drops in it. And then, since vanilla is white, I don't need to color the vanilla, but I'm gonna put some yellow food coloring into my banana to make that yellow to about 4 drops. And we're gonna stir that, give that up a stir here. We're almost to the end of this recipe, and then we can jump into our legal part of our program. So this is not very yellow, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Well, you guys could add a little bit more. I'm probably gonna add a little bit more of the yellow in there because it's not very yellow, as you guys can see. But in the interest of time, I'm just gonna set that aside, and then I'm gonna show you how to prep it. So I am using Ziploc bags because that is what I have. But if you had treat bags, those probably would work a lot better. And so you just pour out your mixture in here. I'm gonna squeeze that. Let me tell you, those dollar store bags are not very good because they're leaking on me. But it's what we have, so what we use. And then you're just gonna tie it. If you had, let me just see if I can tie this one for you guys here. If you have a rubber band, like elastic bands, or if you have twist ties, you can probably use those as well. The goal just being to seal. Hey, Corinne. There we go. To seal this, and then you're gonna pop your little bag into the freezer to make a nice, yummy frozen treat. Okay, so as any good TV chef would do, I pre-made ice lollies for you guys yesterday. So this is what it's gonna look like when it's all well undone. And my favorite part is eating the ice lollies. So you're gonna bite that tip right here, and you're just gonna suck and enjoy. Got a little plastic in my mouth. All right, so now that you guys have the how-to for making your very own ice lollies with ingredients that you can find in your cupboard, let us move on to our misconceptions. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we're gonna talk about three, hey Lou, we're gonna talk about three misconceptions that people have with regard to estate planning. And I chose those three because they seem to be ones that come up very often. The first one being that I've had people ask me a couple of times, hey Linda, welcome. If I am an agent, meaning that someone has given me power of attorney or power through their advance of care directive to make decisions on their behalf, when does my power end? And so the short answer to this long question is that power will end when the person who gave you the power passes. So powers of attorneys and advance of care directives do not extend past the life of the person who created them. The only exception, good morning, the only exception is with the advance of care directive. You get a little bit of time. So when a person passes away, the power under the advance of care directive extends up until the agent can make funeral decisions. So once a funeral has been arranged and that person has been buried, hi Kendall, welcome. Once that person has been buried, then that power under the advance of care directive goes bye-bye. So what happens? Your trustees that you've appointed under your trust, if there's one, and I will answer that question in a sec, Lou, thank you. Your trustees, if the trustees exist, and your executors under your will are going to be the ones who now step in and manage your affairs and make your distributions based on your wishes. So Lou's question, do beneficiaries have to pay taxes on their inheritance? No. Inheritances are when someone inherits a asset or cash, well, not cash, because cash doesn't really have anything to do with taxes, but if someone inherits a house, for example, we have what we call a step-up in basis, which means that the cost basis that the person who purchased the property at gets a step up, and then the person inheriting that property inherits it at the fair market value of that asset, whether that is stock or house. So that is how we get away from not having to pay any income tax on an inheritance, is because of that mechanism called the step-up in basis. If you want to know more about the step-up in basis, you can, I want to say I discussed it in episode 4 or 5 of Rum Shop Talks, but you could also check out my website or my blog where I actually have addressed that, or we can do a full Rum Shop Talk talking specifically about step-up in basis. So the second misconception that I see people doing is when they create a trust package or an estate plan, there's an assumption that once I create my estate plan, I am done. I get to put it on a shelf or put it in my safety deposit box, let it collect decades layers of dust, and never take it out, never look at it. Your estate plan is a living, breathing document. It is supposed to grow with you as your family changes, as your goals and wishes change. So I tell my clients all the time, pull out that estate plan every 5 to 10 years, usually 5 to 7 years, and look at it. The things you want to look at is the people that you've appointed, are they still part of your life? So if you've appointed, someone to be your trustee, is that person still alive? Are you guys still friends? Do you still trust that person to be able to execute your wishes? You also want to look at agents for your power of attorney, advance of care directive. Same kind of questioning. Are they still around? Are they still part of your life? Have you any big changes in your life? Have you remarried? Gotten married for the first time? Gotten divorced? Do you guys have more children? One of the things that we see is sometimes clients with minor children, when they create an estate plan, they specifically name their children as the beneficiaries of their estate. There's really nothing wrong with that, right? But sometimes those plans don't actually account for after-born children. So what happens is someone passes away, they never updated their estate plan, and they come in with a plan like this. We know that you didn't intend to leave your children that were born after your estate plan was created out of inheriting. However, because they're not listed, we would have to look to the probate code for provisions to allow us to do that, and then have to go to court for instructions on making that happen. If you created a trust, it means that you're trying to avoid probate. So let's make sure that we continue to take steps to avoid probate by pulling that estate plan out every 5 to 7 years and reviewing it, and make sure that the plan still reflects your wishes and your family situation. And hi Alton, welcome. Myth number 3, also along the lines of having an estate plan and doing nothing. We see very often that, and the scenario usually plays out where we have a married couple and they have a joint estate plan. When one of the spouses passes, the surviving spouse does nothing, no administration. The assets are left titled in the name of both spouses. If there's any, hey Brenda, if there's any distributions or things that were to be done, any notices that were to be made at the time when the first spouse passes, nothing gets done. And so when the second spouse passes, we're charged with having to figure out what happened when the first spouse passed, value assets back then, and trying to, like we talked about the step up in basis, trying to revalue assets as of the date of death of the first spouse to figure out what the environment looked like then, to adjust the estate plan later on. You guys, if someone lived for 20 years, it is really hard to trace those kind of transactions and make this happen. So your estate plan, it doesn't mean that just because you have a trust that there's nothing to be done when a spouse passes. There are things to be done. And if you're not sure what to do, find yourself an experienced estate planning attorney who does trust administrations. I'm one of those, but just do a search, trust administration attorney, find someone to help you. I guarantee 1 hour in a trust administration attorney's office will save you and your family so much headache and hassle, because they will direct you in what you're supposed to do, and give you instructions on how to make sure that we're not doing crazy tracing when the second spouse passes. So 3 misconceptions. Your power of attorney, it dies when the power of attorney and advance of care directive powers, they die when the principal person who created the estate, the power of attorney and advance of care directive, when they die, those powers die with them. Your estate plan is not static, which means every 5 to 10 years you got to pull it out, you got to review it, you got to make sure it still works for you and your family, and if it doesn't, you have to amend and change it. And if you have a joint plan with your spouse, when your spouse passes, there are things to do that you need. It's not even like you should do it, it's a you have to do it. And so make sure you get yourself in front of an attorney, even if you just pay for the consultation. There is a lot to be said about doing things and doing them right the first time around. So I'm gonna enjoy my iced lolly here and see if you guys have any other questions that you'd like me to address right now. This is so good. So if you guys have carnation milk and condensed milk at home, please go make some. This is really good. Oh yeah, so we have no questions coming in, so I just want to, like every other Friday, want to thank you for stopping in, for giving me just a little bit of your Friday morning to learn some stuff about my culture, but also to get more educated on estate planning. We wish you a happy Friday. Have a great weekend, and we hope to see you next week at 10 a.m. for another episode of Rum Shop Talks. What's you? Oh, we have a question. Sorry, Alden. How early should you get a will for your family? That's a very good question. If you have children, if you're married, if you are beginning to get, assets, I would say it's the time to get a will done. In California, if you have an estate that is less than $250,000, your estate can be administered outside of probate. But if probate is not an issue for you, you should still have a will, because you want to leave directions on what to do with your assets. And if you have children, you want to appoint guardians for them, and you do that in your will. So for you, Alden, I know that you're married with children, so you should definitely have something in place saying what to do if something were to happen to you and your wife with your kids, and the will is the best place to do it. You also want to make sure that you have an advance of care directive and doable power of attorney in place. You want